evening, everybody. Welcome back to For the Love of the Game, episode 15. Today is an episode which is a little bit special. We have a special guest on our program who I will introduce very shortly. We've been away because a bunch of us were watching the World Cup and we were actually going to the games. So we'll do a little bit of a special World Cup thing of all of our experiences in the following weeks. So let's get into this episode. Now, I'd like to first off welcome Mr. Omkar, who is India YouTube's one of quiz masters, and he's amazing at his job. Welcome, Omkar. Thank you for making time and coming here.
Thank you so much for making me a part of this episode.
Pleasure. How was the World Cup for you?
Uh, yeah, I think it was honestly it was quite exciting as a neutral watcher, and the way India dominated the tournament. Of course, we all had great hopes leading to the final, and I managed to watch two games from the stadium. So yeah, it was a wonderful experience overall, and quite a record-breaking World Cup to be honest. I mean, there were just so many records that were broken in terms of batting. So yeah, the action was retained till the final, and the final, we all know what happened in the final, so let's not go there. But yeah, I would still say it was one of the better World Cups that we have seen.
Before we get into these questions, these burning questions that we have about India and the game, I want to touch on each of you because we're all from different cities, barring Pranav and Omkar. How was the organization of this World Cup? We know the ticketing fiasco. I'm saying if you are a lucky person who got the ticket, how was things from your point of view?
Uh, should I answer?
Yes, you go first, then we'll go to Pranav.
Yeah. So I visited Wankhede Stadium, and I then went to Sardar Patel Stadium in Ahmedabad, Narendra Modi Stadium in Ahmedabad. So I felt that organization was Wankhede was slightly better in case there were so many different booths to do. They had us they provided us with the cardboards and sketch pens, and you could make your own banners at the stadium itself. So I liked the way that they handled all those things. But one of the complaints was that the security was very tight. I mean, they also removed coins and everything. So that was very uncomfortable. I mean, when I planned my trip to Ahmedabad, I had to just go with my phone and wallet. I could not carry anything else because I know the kind of security that there was. That was quite difficult. Overall, the experience at Wankhede was really good in terms of organization. I did not find anything amiss other than the fact that you can't carry water, but now it is an established practice at all the stadiums. So that was one issue, and one of the major issues that I faced with the Narendra Modi Stadium was that the exit was quite. I mean, it is very dangerous to be honest, and I don't know what happened after the World Cup final. I think Pranav will be able to tell us that. But when I got out after the England Australia game, the crowd was the number of people leaving the stadium and taking metro was so much, it could easily result in a stampede one day. I hope it does not happen. But I think that is something that the organizers must pay heed to. Other than that, I felt the experience was at par with whatever experiences are there in international cricket, whatever matches I have watched in stadium other than World Cup matches.
Okay, very good answer. Pranav, what about you?
Well, I think I watched 5 games across Ahmedabad and Wankhede. The experience was, I'll say Wankhede was slightly above par. I'm using the word above par because there are certain basic things that I set out when I go to a place. So, Wankhede was one such place where the UPI payments were accepted. The internet was working fine, so I can
Really?
literally, transfer money through my UPI or cards where the internet facility was decent. In Ahmedabad, it was the reverse, so I had to carry proper change to buy stuff. So that's something which Ahmedabad can work on because it's such a large stadium and you can't expect everybody to shell out cash for the stuff that they buy. So that's something that they can pay heed to. The other thing in Mumbai is the food quality is better than what was it in Ahmedabad. I'm particularly touching upon food because Omkar has mostly covered the stuff that I wanted to say. But in terms of food, Mumbai is slightly better placed. I'm not saying that the food in Ahmedabad was below average. I'm saying there were a lot of better options available in Mumbai. And also they provided us free popcorn and coke. So MCA had this lovely gesture of giving us free popcorn and coke every ticket. So that's something that I appreciate. Not that every stadium has to do that, but you have some basic standards for food and stuff. The washrooms were pretty clean in Mumbai. Uh, Ahmedabad, it was clean, but only for the South Premium areas. Uh, for the normal areas, it was average, though there was staff, but it was okay, okay. The travel in Mumbai is fairly better because I am a local resident. But in terms of Ahmedabad, I did not face a lot of issues because, if you don't want to take the metro, you just go to the gate number 2 metro station and take a rickshaw to 40 Square Mall and then go to your place. The Ola Uber works there. But the only thing is they charge 2x on the match days, which is slightly not acceptable given the fact that a lot of people are traveling and you charge 2x on the match days. It's not proper because I literally shelled out 2x to reach out to my place from the stadium to the place where I was staying during the India Pakistan game. So that selective match pricing is something that I don't appreciate. Overall, the experience was great. I mean, I did not have any local food issues or stuff. The experience was brilliant. What I would recommend Ahmedabad to do is have more gates because they're only having 2 gates, which is not acceptable given that you have 1.32 lakhs capacity and just 2 gates. So you could have more gates, more proper facilities. Lighting could have been better inside the stadium because during the final, the light show was brilliant, but inside the stadium, the lighting is poor. So yeah, all those things could be worked upon.
Saptak, you went to Eden Gardens, no?
Right. Yeah. So
Tell
I
us
went.
about your.
Yeah. So I went to like 2 games, the India South Africa one, and a little bit. I was not there for the full game for Pakistan England, just a little bit of time. So anyway, so let me come to this India South Africa game first. So it was pretty like I will break it down into 2 parts. One, the match viewing experience, another the basic things in the stadium and everything. So regarding the match viewing experience, I think Eden Gardens is one of the topmost stadiums. Like you don't get any view issues, like even if you are in the top tier kind of a place. So everything is pretty neat and clean and nice. And even the match DJs or whoever, they are pretty like they are into it. They constantly like drums and everything. The atmosphere is pretty electric, at least in the India South Africa game. So they were playing all the Vande Mataram and all those classic songs and everything. So the atmosphere was pretty electric. And regarding the lighting and everything, also I think Eden Gardens has done a remarkable job, like with the stands and everything. And in the drinks break also there were some laser shows kind of a thing. So it was pretty nice. So I did not expect that. I did not know that was going to happen. So that was maybe an added bonus. So anyways, so now coming to the basic things, the food and water and everything. So one thing which I noticed was earlier, I think the last time I went to Eden Gardens in 2019, I think the India Bangladesh day-night test match. So over there you used to get some water pouches, right? So whenever you went, you got some. But now I think they removed that system. They gave some free drinking water. You have to go and I think that is a bit more like not harassing, but like a bit more difficult because you can't be. It's difficult to carry them into the stadium, and like if you get a water pouch, you can have it anytime, right? So you buy some 4, 5, 10 at a slot, and then that's the only thing maybe which I did not like. Apart from them, food and everything, you have stalls, so that's also decent quality, not like expected quality, so that's good. And regarding the washrooms and stuff, I think that needs to be worked on a little bit more. I think like initially it's clean, but like later on it gets a bit like, yeah, that's pretty understandable as well. But anyway, so and yeah, apart from that, I think overall, I think the another thing regarding the gates, I think they have done a wonderful job because I think there is like 11 or 12 gates at Eden Gardens. Like so, it's pretty like the exit is pretty easy, regardless of the India South Africa high pressure match situations or whatever. And I think also I think the commute back home, there are buses and metros available. So if you're in the north part of the city, in the south part of the city, wherever you are, I think the travel, you can travel even at say 10, 9:30, 10. I think that's a like good time to go. You can like, I don't think there are any major issues over there. But so yeah, but I think like the overall, I think Eden Gardens this time actually did well regarding the organizing and everything. Like there are obviously areas to improve, I guess, in every stadium, but overall I'm pretty pleased with how things are. Yeah.
The reason I asked all of you this question separately because a bunch of us have gone to different grounds. Now, there's one thing that's happened in Chennai that I've not heard from you guys. On match day, if you had a ticket, the metro was free. So we can
Uh,
learn these small things from each other. Like today, Pranav brings up a point that Mumbai had internet. As soon as you got anywhere near the ground, signal got jammed in Ahmedabad and in Chennai. I couldn't hand over tickets that I had to walk a kilometer away to get signal. And luckily, the recipient who was supposed to get this call, his thing worked. So, small things that have been done in each stadium, if we can, pool in our resources and we can do it properly, there is a lot of scope for improvement. I don't think that it was brilliant. It was very well organized in terms of handling the volume of people that we have, and also the ticket prices have been very, very reasonable, provided you got them. You want a ticket at Lord's, it's going to cost you 250 pounds. We've seen the World Cup, for all the tickets that we've gone for won't equal that. We wouldn't have spent 250 pounds on them. Anyways, now the good stuff is out of the way. Now let's get into the real part where
yeah,
it's hurt us. Yeah.
yeah.
Yes,
So
Om.
just one thing that I would like to add is I went to the Ahmedabad, the old stadium in 2014, the Motera.
Mm-hmm.
So at that
Mm-hmm.
time, they had a wonderful facility that there were state buses which were running from the station to ground. So if they
Mm-hmm.
could have arranged something similar on the match days, let's say 50 rupees a ticket or something, you take one stand, then you can come to and fro from, because almost 90% of the crowd was going from station to stadium. So if they could have arranged something like that, that would have been fantastic. And it would
Yeah.
also
There
take
was
in,
something. There was something there in the metro when you get down at Motera, you take a
there
50
was a
rupee
metro.
ticket, and
Correct,
and
correct.
it works after 10 p.m. But the India Pakistan match did not last in that time. But the finals obviously went through that. But the
Yeah.
metro in Ahmedabad, if it's better handle the crowd system and we have more gates, then it makes more sense because the metro is right next to the stadium. So
Right, but the
should have been
capacity of
handled
metro,
better.
the time, how many
Yeah.
will be able to travel? Not more than 100 or
Yeah,
maybe 200.
and the security guards stand at each doors of the metro. So, the amount
Hmm.
of people that can get into the metro is decent. It's not overcrowded, but that's the point. So you have to manage the in-stadium crowd better so that the metro is not clogged a lot.
One more
Correct.
thing I'll add. I want to ask if you guys, if this facility was available. In Chennai, there was a booth that had medical attention. There were doctors on call. There was,
It was there,
sports.
Yeah,
yes.
It was
it
there.
was
It
there
Very
was
in
good.
there.
Mumbai,
It was there.
These are
Ahmedabad,
things
and
that we should really have to look in. And another thing I'll say, when I used to go for one-day matches back in the day, in the early 2000s, it would take you 2 hours to enter the stadium. Now, within minutes, you're in your seat. So that's another improvement that has been made. So all in all, I think there has been good stuff, but yes, there's always scope to improve. Yeah, right.
Correct.
Anyways, now let's get to the heartbreaking points. The question on everybody's mind, and we'll go with Omkar first, that since he's our guest today. Omkar, the question is, did we choke?
Honestly, it's a very difficult question to answer because I feel that the parameter of choking is very subjective in cricket. Like we all have different definitions for choking, and honestly, the definition that suits my thinking is you choke when you are in a winning position against any team. You are in a winning position, and then you go on to lose. I call that a choking. And so, in that respect, I won't say that India choked against Australia in the final because honestly, we were never in a winning position in that game, except probably when they were 47 for 3 and Travis had looked very tentative at the crease. At that time, probably that was India's finest opportunity to be back in the game. But other than that, I felt Australia always had an upper hand once Rohit Sharma was dismissed. And so I wouldn't call it choking per se, but I would honestly label it more as a better gameplay from Australia and they outplayed us in the final.
Is that it? Can we move on to Pranav now?
Yeah,
Pranav, you, same question, your answer.
Well, I don't think we choked. I mean, see, as Omkar mentioned, the definition of choking is subjective. But for me, who watched the game live, I'd actually say that India start after the 10 overs, the position they were in, that was sort of expected out of it. So the first 10 overs went according to the plan. But after that, Australia took the game away from India. And that's how we look at the game because there has been a lot of outrage in Rohit's approach, Dravid's coaching, Kohli's approach, Rahul's approach, etc., etc. But what I think about the game is that when you have a final, okay, I don't think this sort of pitch is what you dish out in other countries, because it's not I won't say it's India's weak point that they don't play in sluggish wickets, but the point is Australia adapted to the conditions better, because I heard on Ashwin's YouTube channel saying he spoke to George Bailey, and he saw a red soil wicket and they thought it'll, you know, grip initially and then become better to bat on. But what I think India could have done better is actually not, take the step back and uh, I can understand the thinking behind India's approach when they were three down and they wanted to take the game deep. They tried to rattle the rhythm by sending in Jadeja. All those moves might have worked some other day. Even on hindsight, Travis Head might have edged it to KL Rahul and they could have been four down. But having said all that, I think Australia played better on that part on that day, and we were outplayed by a better team. And I have no shame in saying that. Even after the final, when I went to the office, a lot of people asked me that were India poor on the field. I don't think so, because India did whatever they can, given the limited amount of resources they had, given the sort of position they were in. If had let's say had KL Rahul or Virat Kohli taken the catch of the first ball of Travis Head, things would have been different, right? So there are small things which India failed to grab. Australia grabbed with not one but four hands. So all those things worked in Australia's favor, and they deserve to be champions, because from losing the first two games to winning the World Cup, it's been an incredible journey, and we have to give it to Australia.
Okay, Saptak, your
yeah.
point.
Yeah. So no, I don't think it's a choke, as I agree with what Pranav said. So basically, I think Australia outplayed us in that match. But I think what I want to give credit to is, like, at the toss, Australia decided to bowl first, right? So normally in a final, people associate put some runs on the board and those kind of things, especially with how the Indian bowlers are bowling under lights, right? So keeping all those things in mind, they have like properly gone through and everything. Ahmedabad has a venue, the conditions, everything, and like decided to bowl first in such a huge match. I think that needs to be given a lot of credit, first of all. And secondly, I think Australia did the basics very right. So they were their fielding and everything, the in the ring and everywhere. I think the field placement. I think Rohit Sharma had a deep point or some deep cover in the very first over, right? So I think those little things actually make a lot of difference. I know India scored a lot of runs in the first 10 overs, but you could see the idea behind there, that they had properly thought out things. So I think those need to be given their dues. And apart from that, I think yeah, I don't agree with the pitch. I think if it was a flat kind of a pitch, then I think you can take the due factor out of it as well. Like, because if you are posting say 350 around say 400 kind of a score batting first, I think even with due the margin becomes less as compared to in a sluggish wicket. If the due comes in, it becomes a proper batting track. So I think these are little things which can be taken into consideration. But apart from that, I think the main thing is Australia with only a single spinner, say Zampa. I know Glenn Maxwell, Travis said they are like decent options as well. But with only single spinner in India, like how they managed to win the World Cup, like needs to be needs to be studied properly, because that's pretty like unheard of. Like with a single spinner, you're dominating a World Cup. So I think so overall, I think yeah, little things that Travis said, that Bumrah would the miss the stumps by an inch or something. So those kind of things like can make a difference. But overall, what I feel is, even if say India got say close to 280, 300 kind of a score over there, with how things can be, Australia could have maybe gotten there, I feel. So I don't think that makes that huge of a difference. Matlab, India batting first and maybe say instead of 240 scoring 280, 300. Yeah, like in a final, you can never say it. But given how the pitch was behaving and everything was going, like after the first few overs of the Australian innings, like their batting innings, I think they more or less settled into it. And I didn't think any like if they didn't throw away their wickets, I think Australia would have won irrespective of anything. So I don't know. So I feel yeah, Australia outplayed us. Like credit to them, like proper clutch players, clutch mentality, everything. So agree with them. I think India will win. It's not. I know that we have been like losing. There's a streak building up, but there are many ICC tournaments like almost every year now. So I think India will win one. That's just a matter of time. But I think what we should not do is panic and absolutely go away from how we have played this World Cup. I think it's been a proper like domination kind of a display and use the proper templates and everything. Like, don't just panic and like forget everything how it went and just go in a different direction. Just build on it, rectify the small mistakes. I think we should be there. Yeah. So that's my take on it.
All right. So would it be fair to say that we were tactically beaten rather than being beaten on the field? Because I have a feeling had we won the toss, we would have also chosen to bat.
Yep. Yep.
Wouldn't have taken that chasing.
I think so. The whole point, having watched the game live again, is Australia's fielding. So they were plus 30 on the field. If you look at the stats, so that sort of made a difference, right? Because 240 to say 270, 280, 47 for three, you never know. So that sort of difference that you have on the field, the tactics, the kind of field that Cummins used, the kind of bowling changes that he used. So he ran out Head and Marsh a couple of overs, quiet overs, and then Hazelwood was going for runs. He took him off, then brought him back again. So despite having all the factors, they used their resources well, and we were tactically.
All right. Now, fine. We've gotten over the choke part. At least this is something that even I've made peace with now, because I am a firm believer that we didn't choke. I thought we played very well given the circumstances. But anyways, let's move to the next question. I'll go with Saptak, Pranav, and then Omkar, and then we'll go in that order from here on in.
Sure.
What was the turning point for India and what was the turning point for Australia? Give me your two moments of the game.
Okay, so I think the first moment has to be Rohit Sharma's dismissal, because till then, like, it was pretty smooth. Like, the script was, we knew, like, it was like a fairy tale, like Rohit Virat partnership in a final, India to win, that kind of a thing was going on. So, but anyways, so this it was not to be. I won't say that Rohit Sharma played a rash shot like many people are like telling. I think what he tried was the last over of the power play, go after Maxwell. So I think it's a pretty decent mindset to have. He has how he, like, we have been playing in this World Cup. Like, Rohit Sharma takes on everything and Virat Kohli consolidates, builds it to like 47, like that kind of a thing. So I think that was a major turning point in India's innings. And apart from that, I think given the pitch and everything, I think I expected a bit more from Surya Kumar Yadav. Like, at the end, I think the main thing which I was a bit perplexed about is basically he was rotating strike with the tailenders a lot, because he could have faced a few more deliveries. I feel like in the before, like, he could have like tried taking like boundaries and everything. So I think that could have been maybe looked at. But I think by that time, I think the match was more or less like almost, we knew India was going to end up with a below par kind of a score given the conditions in the. So I think the two major factors was, I think like, even I expected Australia to bat first on that pitch. I think that would be one of them. I think Australia decided to bowl first with their everything, the analysis and everything, and secondly the Rohit Sharma's dismissal. And I won't say Virat Kohli's dismissal, because we know how Virat Kohli will be playing. He will be taking it deep till late, but you need someone along with, say, a Shreyas Iyer kind of a player to actually like go along with him. So I think if you look at the Mumbai game, the semi-final, so that was the template, right? Kohli was going and Shreyas Iyer was going bonkers at the other end. So I will say Rohit Sharma's wicket was one of the main points, and Australia winning the toss and bowling first. I think, yeah, those will be my two picks.
Okay. Pranav, on to you. Same question. Give me your answer.
Well, I think the power play made a lot of difference. You could say that Australia were 3 down by the power play, but they were 2 down initially because of the Steve Smith wicket. You could say it's a wicket, but it's technically not a wicket. The impact was way outside Australia. Second thing that comes to my mind is Australia's fielding. That's where they won the game, because outfielding, stopping twos, converting. So India generally is, or Kohli or Rahul for that matter, are excellent runners. So from the Chennai game, what they made out is that we don't give them twos. So that way they are not able to get to 10 runs an over. And that way they are, the pressure builds, they get to boundary balls and play a bad shot and get out. So I think Australia's fielding and India's probably good or average power play tone.
Okay. Omkar, what about you?
I largely agree with what Saptak said about the pitch, and I feel, I think pitch played the most important role even before the game started. I think we should not have gone for the slow pitch, and I'm not sure if it has been revealed as to who requested exactly for that kind of a pitch, but I felt that narrowed the gap down between the two teams. You know, India were cruising with the run scoring. You know, we had a template that Rohit Sharma goes after the bowlers, and then middle order rallies around Virat Kohli, who holds one end and he gets his century, and then we go on to score 350 to 400. So I think if we had gone for a normal pitch or a better batting track, I think India would have started as huge favorites in that game rather than the slow pitch, which allowed Australia an entry into that game. So I think one of the biggest turning points was actually the pitch. And in terms of India's innings, I felt that Shreyas Iyer wicket was a huge shot in the arm for Australia for a simple reason that it spoiled all of India's planning. You know, had Shreyas Iyer been at the pitch in the middle overs, he's someone that who looks to attack the spinners. He'll always search for boundaries, and you know those runs will keep flowing. What happened with his wicket? What happened after his wicket was actually that KL Rahul and Kohli had to go into the shell, and they both are the kind of players that they enjoy more. They enjoy batting defensively as than to bat in an attacking manner. So had Shreyas Iyer been there, you know, it would have the tempo would have been completely different of the Indian innings. So with Iyer not being there, you know, it made KL Rahul and Kohli preserve their wickets because we had a shorter batting portion because we had a longer tail. So that meant that both had to curb their natural game or they had to protect their wickets, and so that has had a domino effect. And then you know, then Kohli's wicket also, then it forced Ravindra Jadeja's entry, and then in that to be slow, in that to be careful that they're playing out all 50 overs. So I felt that Shreyas Iyer's wicket played a huge role in that regard. And once we have posted only 240 runs, it's always going to be very difficult to defend under especially when Dew is going to be there. And then the team is only one partnership away from winning that game. You know, when you are just chasing 240, you just need a 100 run partnership, and that takes care of the target. So yeah, I felt in the Australian innings, Labuschagne played really well. I felt that he absorbed the pressure, and he was there at one end when Travis Head was attacking. So had Labuschagne not being there, I think Travis Head looked very vulnerable, and then Australian middle order may have been exposed. But Labuschagne's innings took care of that. So those were the three major points for me from that final.
Okay, now my next question will be in the reverse order, and it's going to touch on KL Rahul. Actually, I've given this guy. I've been very critical on his side, on his place in the Test match side, because I thought he's been given extra luck. Never had a question about his white ball thing. I had a question mark on his wicket keeping. I think he's done a phenomenal job this World Cup. I must actually apologize to any time I've been overcritical on him. He's worked very, very hard. But the reason I'm asking this question is because the guy's been facing a lot of hate online. Okay. So I want to start with you, Omkar. What did you think about his batting and his keeping?
I'll first start with his batting performance. It was really disappointing to be honest. I mean, the way that he went into the shell in the middle overs. It is understandable that you have lost three wickets and you still have so many overs to bat. And as I said, that the India's tail was a bit longer, so he had to be careful. But I felt that at least they could have looked to rotate strike a bit more because you know with Kohli and Rahul, you have two of the fittest Indian cricketers at the crease. So there were so many gaps in the field, but I think they played too many dot balls, and that allowed Australia to build the pressure. And Australia were happy keeping him at the crease. And so when he had to attack, he actually got out. So sadly, he could not add any runs later on for India. So I felt that it was a disappointing innings. And coming back to his keeping, I felt that weirdly his keeping was at his worst against Australia in this tournament. I remember that in the first game also he made a few errors with keeping, and in the final, of course, he made a few errors with keeping where he let go a few wides and a few byes were conceded. But otherwise, I think in the group game, his wicket keeping was fantastic. Some of the catches that he took were brilliant, and the one area that was exceptional in was reviewing. I mean, we haven't seen a better wicketkeeper in reviews after Dhoni than K. Rahul. You know, he was so on point in every review, and he was helping out Rohit Sharma. That was one aspect that was really praiseworthy of K. Rahul. But yeah, I mean, he's a specialist batter and he's more of a part-time wicket keeper. So sadly, when it mattered, did not it did not go in his favor. I think that day did not belong to him.
Okay, thank you. Pranav, your same question. Give me your answer.
I think KL Rahul has been on and off with the bat the whole tournament. Got an excellent 100 versus Netherlands in Bangalore. Decent innings versus Australia in the opening game. Took us out of the hole. Finals, yes, as Omkar said, it's disappointing. But keeping wise, I'm pretty impressed with the way he is kept, barring the final. Because for somebody who's a makeshift keeper to come back, keep 50 overs and take the right decisions on the field, be it fielding wise or be it TRS wise. Uh, it's been good to see, and he's being tipped as the next leader, somebody who keeps and bats down the order. So I think that way India well placed with the keeper for at least the next 2 years. He's been tipped as the keeper in test matches. I don't know how that will go. But overall, pretty happy with the keeping that he has done. Batting, yes, could have been a little more above par. But having said that, I think the roles that he got to play in different games were different. And he most likely did justice with what he got with the bat, barring the final. Keeping also barring the final, it was okay. I'm pretty satisfied with KL, but I expect more to, do given the caliber he has.
Yeah.
Fair
So
enough.
even
Fair enough.
yeah. So for me also, like KL Rahul, like with the bat, I feel with KL Rahul, I think when you're chasing a score, I think he's more comfortable, like than setting totals. I think like we saw the first match, right? India Australia, and they were 2 for 3. Oh, in that time, I think he's a very perfect kind of a player when you're chasing like 250s kind of scores, like, and you're in a bit of a pickle kind of a situation. Like even if the pitch is difficult, you can kind of bank on him to bail you out of such situations more often than not. And and I think the main thing is, I think against like a bit few weaker teams, I think he can go bang bang, but against very like say Australia, like South Africa kind of teams, I think he needs a lot of time to settle in, and like especially in one day cricket and stuff in the middle overs. So I think that can be worked on. And apart from that, keeping wise, I think like hats off to him, because like I've never seen him keep so well, especially in the first part of the tournament. So how he did, and especially I think the only final match he fumbled a bit. Apart from that, it was pretty smooth. So I think so keeping wise, kudos to him. And yeah, I think I will look forward to him changing his tempo a bit quicker than what he generally does. Like I get you need a few balls. Like not all players can just go bang bang from the first ball, but I would want him to make the shift in gears a bit quicker than what he does currently, especially when setting totals. So yeah, this is from my end. Yeah.
I'll end this question and we'll move forward to the next one, but I'll just add something about this guy. First off, with regards to his keeping, English caught 5 catches, but even I was at the finals. He couldn't make a stumping. If you remember when Mitch Marsh came to bowl the first over, he was right up to the stumps, English. The ball was hardly reaching him. So to judge anybody on the basis of keeping, that was not the wicket, in my humble opinion. And secondly, like what Omkar said earlier, when Iyer got out, that messed up Rahul's flow. That's where the strike rate issue comes in. And anyways, this thing. We'll move on to the next question. We've gotten your points. Thank you very much.
Let's move on to the next question in the new link. I think this one's ending.
So. It's ending. Okay, then just send a new link.
Saptak is doing.
Now we'll move on to our next question. I think we've covered a lot of points about India. It's good to talk about the opposition and give them their due credit. So now we'll start with with Saptak first, then Pranav, then Omkar. Saptak, give me your views on Pat Cummins.
Okay, so I think he was the main person in the middle overs, which Australia relied upon this with the ball. I think with his like cutters and his like back of a line deliveries were pretty good throughout the World Cup. I think he had I think he followed a proper plan. Like there was a template to his bowling. Like it was not only just pitch up and see how it goes. It was like proper planning done, like how he wanted to bowl in the middle overs. And I think not only Pat Cummins, I think the entire Australian side, if you look at the squad, like I don't think it was that great a side, like on paper, like compared to say other teams. Okay, But I feel they did some proper planning. Tactically, they were pretty good on the field. They did the basic things really right. Like initially, first 2 matches, I think they were pretty bad. But I think after that, they like really channelized it properly into like even I think the captain led from the front in that aspect. I think even like I know with the ball, Pat Cummins was pretty nice with his plans, execution of plans, and everything how he did in the middle overs. But I think also with the bat, we should not forget that, right? Especially in this Afghanistan game. Like I know people are going over Maxwell. He scored 200. Obviously, because of them, they won that match. But I think the way he like properly stayed in the crease with him, like not trying to match him or not get too excited, like doing his job properly with the bat. I think that needs to be commended a lot. And also in the semi-final, right? I know it was only like 20 runs or something to get when he came in, but those can be really tricky, especially in Eden Gardens kind of a venue, like with the crowd and everything, were in South Africa's favor. So it was like I think he was a really clutch, if you can use the word clutch. I think it needs to be given to him right now because I think he's a pretty chilled out guy. Like he knows to execute his plans properly. Even if you go back to the Ashes, right? I know it's a different thing we are going into. The against England, how he, I think I don't remember which test, but he finished off a game.
Edgbaston.
Yeah, he finished off a
Edgbaston.
game. Yeah. So I think he has been in such very like delicate situations and he has handled himself very well. Like, I think so. I think he deserves the World Cup with every planning and everything he does with the support staff, with the players. I think decent.
Pranav, you on Pat Cummins.
I think he's been a tactically shrewd leader. I'll give it to him in that aspect. But apart from that, he's been had a underpar tournament by his standards, because apart from a couple of performances with the bat, not a very resounding performance with the ball. I'm taking final out of the equation because that is a one-off game, and I don't judge people with that one-off game, like you mentioned for KL Rahul as well. Because his performance, it looked like he flattered a little bit when the situations were uncomfortable, not as a captain, but as a player. You need to be a player first, then the skipper. So his performance by his standards were not that great, I'd say. I know I'm being a little too harsh on him, but by Australia standards, when you're picking that side, you expect somebody like a Pat Cummins to contribute more with the ball. So when Stark was not in form, somebody like a Hazelwood has to step up so that they don't look bad as a side, as a bowling unit. So that way, Cummins had a very underpar tournament. In the finals, he did well. He did tactically well. He did all sorts of plans. He executed nicely. The wicket of Virat Kohli could be talked as a changing point, but sometimes it goes to third man, sometimes it goes to fine leg, sometimes it goes to the stumps. So apart from that, I don't think Pat Cummins had a very huge impact apart from the Maxwell partnership. So he's been gone under the radar, but having won the World Cup, nothing more like.
Omkar, your thoughts on Pat Cummins?
So very well put by Pranav, and I completely agree with his point that he didn't have a, because I mean we all remember the final. That is why we tend to accentuate his performance. So whatever Pranav said was I think 100% correct in terms of his bowling. One of the things that I picked up when I was watching the England Australia game was that while Cummins was the captain, I think it was Steve Smith who was marshalling the field largely. So he was the one, he was controlling if there are four fielders, there are five fielders in the ring, just to avoid that no ball thing. And he was also instructing the fielders where to be positioned and all. So I feel that the larger credit should be given to the Australian management and their leadership group that they have, which would have Cummins and Smith. Warner was not as active in the field as Steve Smith. That is what I observed. So I felt that the larger credit should go to the team management and whatever leadership group that they have formed in their playing 11.
Okay. Before we move on to the next question, there's one thing I noticed, and I think if people in the ground would have seen this, which was really, really very well done by the Aussies. When Sky came into bat, the third man came super fine,
Right.
and the fine leg came a little bit, not too much, so that he could even cover that other pull shot. The fine leg could cover all his shots because that's an easier shot to access, and the third man would come and take the really fine shot. So it took his main. He was playing 3-4 shots before the ball actually arrived to him at sometimes, So sometimes when your opposition figures you out, you've got to say, well done, boss. That's the
Right.
thing.
So, and against
Now,
Virat Kohli,
yeah,
they had a leg slip position.
yep, they did
Yeah.
that too.
Had planned for every batsman.
They did. That way, they were tactically much better than us on that day. Anyways, let's move. My next question is again about the Aussie mentality, and I want to get it to Omkar first, then Pranav, and then to Saptak because it has something to do with Mumbai. Of late, ever since this match has gotten over, people have been speaking about the Aussie mentality, and they know how to perform on the big day. That's why they've got 6 World Cups, all the Ashes, all the Test championships, etc., etc., etc. But what I have been thinking over the last 1-2 days is there is a reason why Mumbai has won 40 odd Ranji titles. Instead of us thinking about what's happening in Australia, why can't we learn from each other? And this is not a question, it's more of a statement that I'm making rather than look elsewhere, look within ourselves. So I'll leave it to the Mumbai boys to answer this. I'll ask Omkar first and then Pranav.
Yeah. So, what exactly is the question?
Mumbai has won the Ranji Trophy title 40 times. Okay, the second
Right.
closest team is a big difference, and then comes Karnataka. Okay, there is a reason why Mumbai does it. Why can't we learn from the Mumbai cricketers why they and also in this explain to me what is Khadu's batting? For 40 years I've been listening to this word.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, being a Mumbaikar, yeah, it's a matter of great pride that Mumbai have won the Ranji Trophy for 41 times. Uh, but I mean, to be honest, a lot of Mumbai's victories came in an era where they were clearly the strongest team from all others because, in a way, Indian cricket started from Mumbai itself. The grounds and the pentangulars that were used to happen in the Ranji Trophy, they always dominated because Mumbai had a very robust structure. We had the strongest school cricket. Then we had university matches, and they always had a very experienced team. I mean, there were times when 5 to 6 players in the Indian team used to be Mumbaikars. So in a way, there was always a great gulf between Mumbai and all other teams, and a lot of portion of why Mumbai was so victorious in those years comes from the fact that they were the strongest. They had the strongest domestic structure in India. Um, and yeah, as to Khadu's mentality, I don't know if you all agree with me or not, but I always felt that all these mentality things and all these things that we said are more in retrospect rather than what happens on the field. On the field, I think it is the best team that wins on that day. Whichever team is the best on that day, that wins. And so that was the case for Mumbai throughout. I mean, whenever they won the Ranji Trophy, in the early years especially, they were the best team in the field. And that is why we don't see Mumbai winning nowadays. I mean, the last time Mumbai won the Ranji Trophy was back in 2016 or 17. After that, they haven't won a Ranji Trophy. So a lot of that goes on to what kind of a team we have. And yeah, I think on that day, Australia played really well and they thoroughly deserve to win. And again, because the teams keep changing. I mean, if you look at the players that are playing in these finals or all these decisive matches, there will be lots of difference. The conditions are totally different. The oppositions are different. So to join them all by a common thread, I don't particularly feel that we can define them by a common thread. So yeah, I'm not a fan of all these mentality and all these discussions. But yes, I mean there has to be some winning quality there, and winning is a habit, as they say. Yeah, when it continues, it feels great. When the day is against you, have to accept your defeat and laud the opposition.
Okay. Pranav, your point of view.
I think uh, having won 41 Ranji titles might not have something to do with winning World Cups because I feel there's a clear daylight between Ranji and World Cups. Of course, you could say the mentality stuff and all that, but I sort of don't agree with such conversations because what happens is when you're playing Ranji Trophy, you're competing, the formats and everything is different, right? So the standard of players are different. They churn out runs in first class cricket before coming in and all those things. And to take that to a one-off game where you have won 10 games and then not to win a game doesn't define you, I mean, as a team. So probably what it takes to win a tournament is I don't know what's missing. I mean, I've seen like the 2 World Cups back to back last year, this year. There's again a World Cup next year. So a lot of people are pinning it down on a lot of people, say Dravid or Rohit or Kohli or other people, but I don't think it's about the players. It's about a sort of mindset that you need to have on that particular day to win a tournament, and you have to be tactically better than the other team. It's as simple as it could get, because you can't have a number of people, and of course the crowd matters definitely, but that's something that we can talk about a little more in detail in the coming episodes about the crowd and the ground experiences. But what I think is, like, when India played England in last year's semi-final, England beat India tactically. When Australia played India this year in the finals, Australia beat India tactically. So, sort of, I'm not saying that they are underprepared or something, absolutely not, because for players to reach, play 10 games and then get to the 11th game is a lot of preparation. But the sort of mindset that you want to have when you're in a final, that fighting spirit and stuff like that, I don't know how it will come, because I'm not a player who's sitting in the dressing room and then speaking, but that sort of difference I can see between the two teams when you're playing a crunch game or a knockout game. Because I watched the Mumbai semi-final live, and I know that when the Williamson-Mitchell partnership was going, India was looking sort of out of the sequence. I won't say that they are looking out of the box at all. No, because 398 you can't anyways get with that batting lineup. But when some partnership is brewing, you need to have plan C, plan D. Uh, it's been the case in all the formats, all the knockouts that you play. Even the World Test Championship final, Travis Head took us out of the game. So that sort of planning, which we have, say you come around the wicket and bang it short to him, bang it above the head, because that sort of planning, if you have, see, it's not always that plan A works for you 100%. You have to have plan B, plan C, plan D. So you know, let's take the Rohit Sharma wicket in the final. Australia was bowling badly. Rohit was going bonkers. They got Maxwell. They threw a wild card at Rohit Sharma, take a bait, see what happens. Had Maxwell not got that wicket, he might have not bowled the entire innings, because that sort of economy rate he was going around, he might have, and that catch 99% of the times is not taken. It either falls in no man's land, or it either falls elsewhere, or stuff like that. So that sort of wild card plans you need to have. And I think amongst the top six, nobody bowling is a problem, and we need to accept that, because in 2011 you had Sehwag, you had the likes of Yuvraj bowling 10 overs on the trot in India. So that is something that and I like the way that they are addressing it on the T20 front. They are bringing in Tilak Verma, who can bowl a couple of overs. Even Yashasvi Jaiswal can bowl. People can argue that they have not bowled, but they will bowl.
Yeah,
Because and on sluggish wickets, with the kind of luck charm that Hardik Pandya has, I think we will do better in West Indies, because uh, I don't know what's the side being prepared, but the likes of say Gill will obviously come back. Ruturaj is just a backup to Gill, because he's played 11 games, then he's shut out. Pant, if he's back, will open instead of Kishan. Then I think Kohli has to play at three. I don't know what's the other people thinking, but in West Indies you need to have Kohli. Surya, Tilak, Hardik, Rinku, Aksar. It's all looking like it's a balanced side. So probably that way we are heading towards a victory. We need to be patient with the side. I know we have lost a lot of games, we have lost a lot of championships, but that does not mean that we are a bad side. Equating this to Ranji, I don't think it makes sense. But having that sort of mentality to be come up from the crunch situations, like how you came up to the Gabba test, that sort of mentality needs to come in. And I think the Paddy Upton idea in the last World Cup, or the World Cup before, I think that worked. You can have somebody who's conditioning you mentally, keeping you relaxed, and stuff like that. So I think that mentality of having multiple plans and having different situations in front of you, that helps.
Saptak, your point of view before we move on.
Yeah. So nothing major to add, just one thing. So regarding, say, Mumbai winning so many championships and comparing it to Australia's World Cup titles, I feel the only thing is the mindset. I think what happens is when you know that you have been in similar situations before and you have overcome those, you can follow a certain template in your mind. So this is how I'm gonna go about it. So that is the only thing. It's kind of a muscle memory kind of a thing, maybe. So or that template maybe is more familiar to say Australians than Indians in say finals. What happens if they don't know because they have not won anything. I think once India starts actually winning the first title somehow, they do that. I think it will be much more like it's gonna come more frequently. So this is what I think is the only thing. And apart from that, so yeah, I think looking ahead to the T20 World Cup, right? So I feel in West Indies, USA, you're gonna expect a bit slowish kind of a surfaces, like ideally. So I think what India need to do is tactically like play. I don't think I agree with the pitch they played on against Australia. It was pretty flat. I don't think that's gonna help them much anyways. So I think if you're gonna like play in a bit more difficult kind of a pitches, like stopping kind of a things and all those things, I think that's gonna help them in like West Indies. And also I think Virat Kohli cements his spot at number 3, especially since it's West Indies. So because you need a player like that in such conditions to actually like Virat Kohli kind of a player over there. So I think so more or less, yeah, I think things are not that bad as it appears, right? Because that's the thing. So if you just keep backing yourself, be tactically smarter, I think BCCI needs to invest more in the back room, maybe. I don't know. Like in the back, I think backroom stuff is now a very, very important part of cricket. Maybe you can compare it with, say, modern football. I don't know. Like earlier, it used to be Flair and Maradonas and Messi's and all these things like winning you matches. I think now it's more Prakash, you can maybe like say more on this. I don't follow football that much. I think now it's more of like tacticals, like passing kind of a thing. Like I don't know. So I think this is I think cricket also, like especially with the IPL and everything, the analysis which goes on with the English boys. I see Ben Jones and I don't know all these guys, the Krigwiz and all these people so collecting data. I think it's much more data oriented than just like going away like depending on one player to play the innings of their lives and win matches. I think it's a collective effort which goes around nowadays. So I think if I think India playing wise, I don't think there is much of an issue. I think if they are more tactically smart at some crucial moments with their decision making and everything, and also a bit clear in their head how they want to approach a thing. It's not that in the final, if you lose a few wickets, like normally, like it's better to adapt to the conditions and play, but also you have to keep in mind that how we have been playing all this tournament, right? So you should not go away from that just because it's a final and those kind of things. So little things. So the proper balance along with data and everything, I think that we need to be a bit more smarter in that aspect. Like, so yeah, this is what I feel. Yeah.
Okay. All right. These were the questions I had, gents. Before we end, I'd just like to add one thing and just summarize everything. I think we can agree that our approach was not timid. We did not choke. I think we can also agree that the pitch did play a part, but I'm not the type of guy who will complain about this or that. Even if he played in Australia, it was the same wicket. We lost, 2 teams played, the wicket was the same for everybody. So I don't buy that pitch talk too much. Even with the mentality part, I don't think we were that bad. It's just it wasn't that bad 40 minutes. That's what we discussed that we didn't want to hear. And they made a match out of it. We were a team that was short on that day. Anyways, thank you, Omkar. Thank you, Pranav and Saptak for your time. To our viewers, we'll leave Omkar's socials in the description below. Please give him a follow. He does a quiz every week, month. I don't know when his new season starts, but we'll all be a part of it, hopefully. It's very entertaining and it'll give you great knowledge about the game. Thank you for joining us and do like and subscribe.
Yeah. Thank you all. Cheers. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.